Hello, our screen is visible to everybody?
Yes, sir, it is
Yes, sir.
visible.
Yeah. So the first experiment is, as I told you, to draw wall timing diagram of a single cylinder four-stroke, especially diesel engine, and specifically this Lister engine. So before going to the actual the sequence of operations what we had to perform on the experimental part, let us understand some basics about ICE engine, and probably you should have studied also in your IC engines and in first year in your basic mechanical engineering also. So what happens in a diesel engine, typically in a vertical cylinder engine, is the piston will be at the topmost point in the beginning of the suction. So the very beginning of the cycle. Okay, a cycle is 4 strokes means 4 strokes. Okay, 4 movements for the piston and 2 revolutions for the crankshaft. Hello. ఏమైందండి స్క్రీన్?
Sir, your screen is visible, sir, but PPT is not visible.
Yeah. Dr. Sampath, there is no video.
Sir, I'm really sorry. I'm just trying to record it, sir. I forgot to record it. Recording option is one thing.
3 dots ఉన్నాయి కదా vertical గా.
It's not showing in that. That's what whiteboard changed it. It's not showing, sir.
I'll record it, no problem.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, shall I record?
Yeah, sure. In my, it is not showing, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So the sequence of operations in a typical 4-stroke single cylinder diesel engine. So it is applicable to multi-cylinder engines also, but in a diesel engine. So in the beginning of the operation, the very cycle starts with the suction or intake or induction. The piston will be at the topmost point, and linearly it moves downwards. So while pistoning is descending from the top dead center to bottom dead center, or top center to bottom center, so the inlet valve opens. Okay, so you are seeing, no? Are you able to see my cursor? Okay, so this valve is open and the piston is already in its downward path. So once the piston comes to the BDC, so it would have completed about 180 degrees of rotation. So now whatever charge, so the charge for the diesel engine, conventional diesel engine, is pure air in a sense, atmospheric air. So in a naturally aspirated engine, the atmospheric air will be breathed into the engine cylinder as it is descending from top dead center to bottom dead center, because of the differential pressures between the atmosphere and because you are creating some sort of vacuum. So the piston is descending, you know. So it is very similar to how in the pathology laboratory, how blood sample is taken from the vein, no? So you will create a partial suction or vacuum to draw the blood from the vein into the syringe. So likewise, the piston movement acts like a syringe piston. Okay. So the charge is drawn. Charge is only air. So that air, whatever it has entered, when the piston starts moving from bottom center to top dead center, it slowly gets compressed. And it compressed to that extent that where the fuel will be self-ignites. Okay, so air should be compressed to such a pressure and temperature that the fuel what is going to be injected can auto-ignite. So that is what is called self-ignition. As such, we are not using any source of ignition, and diesel engines are called self-ignition engines. It is not spark ignition engines. So it is a self-ignition engine or compression ignition engines. So during which as a piston is moving from bottom center to top center, both valves are closed. You see that there is no provision like what we have shown here. So both are closed. So that means the another 180 degrees it will complete as soon as. So now the 2 strokes are over. The third stroke is the fuel, whatever it is injected here. So because there is enormous heat energy is liberated spontaneously. So because of that high pressure, whatever is there, the air gets compressed and fuel gets ignited and it takes part in combustion, and that pushes the piston downwards very fast, and the piston comes to the bottom center once again. Now during this, the power will be developed, and also notice that both the valves are closed here. Okay. And once the piston has moved from again top dead center to bottom center, it has completed another 180. So 180 plus 180 plus 180, 540 right from the beginning of section to this point. It has completed. Now after the power stroke is completed, expansion stroke otherwise, now piston starts moving again bottom center to top dead center, during which this exhaust valve will be opened. Okay. So whatever the burnt gases are there, whatever the gases which could not be expanded completely in an actual engine, that should be cleared off of the engine cylinder. So that's how the inlet valve is closed here, the exhaust valve only kept open. The inlet valve is open during the suction stroke and exhaust valve is closed. So in a way that the valves are open only 2 strokes. Okay. So remaining 2 strokes, we have actually the power is supplied during the compression. Power is obtained from the engine. So there should be some source to serve the purpose of power to complete the suction and expansions, the exhaust and also compression. So whatever energy you are getting here may be self-sufficient, maybe in excess. If it is excess, so it will store in the form of rotational energy. That's why we require a heavy flywheel. That flywheel will store the energy in the form of rotational energy. When it is required, it supplies to the engine, and it also supplies to the user point. Okay? That is the useful power. We call it as a brake power. So the power, whatever it is produced inside the cylinder, no, so that is indicated power. Okay. So at the end of the crankshaft, whatever you are getting, that is a brake power. There is a difference between indicated power and brake power. The difference we call it as a friction power. Because this terminology will be made use of very frequently to understand that how the energy supplied in the form of fuel and air for its combustion, how they take part in combustion, how they release their energy, how they are inducted, how they leave the engine cylinder. So where exactly the valves will open, how they get closed, how the injection starts, how much time it get opened. So these are all the different events. No, it's a diagrammatic representation of the events a engine undergoes in a 4-stroke engine, typical engine. In a specific case, diesel engine. That diagrammatic representation is called valve timing diagram. So this is how we are going to represent with the help of a spiral side sort of diagram. Let us see an animation. There is sorry showing. So this I explained you just now that 4 strokes the engine has taken, engine piston has taken, and each movement from top dead center to bottom dead center and the reverse bottom center to top dead center, that is 1 stroke. That stroke is called that stroke length. Okay. So a bore is nothing but a cylinder diameter. A stroke means stroke length, B and L. So now you observe the animation. Whatever the processes I have explained here, you can see. These are all the different components because these are the provisions for the engine to keep cool, because unless you lose some energy, the second law of thermodynamics says that you cannot produce useful amount of work. So there is an amount of energy which is left to the coolant to keep the components safeguarded, and so exhaust also leaves at a higher pressure temperature. So the energy is lost in some form or other. So to keep the useful power available. So the first law only says that whatever you supply, you get it in the different form, but in magnitude full. But that is not possible. Second law puts a restriction that is possible, and that what we are going to see in the later experiments, like a heat balance test, you conduct it, you will understand. Start change.
Yes, sir. Like suction strokes.
Yeah, suction stroke. The air enters through this one. So these are the valve movements. These are typical spring-loaded valves. Okay. Why I am showing, will be also be showing in a real engine. When I show different components of an engine, you can appreciate. These are spring-loaded valves. These are gets. So now the piston starts descending from the top center to bottom center slowly. So the charge from the atmosphere or through the turbocharger, whatever is there, it is entering slowly till it comes to the bottom center. So the inlet valve is opened, you see. Now it has come to the downwardmost point. Okay, there is no further movement for the piston to go downwards. So this distance, linear distance, is called stroke length. Now piston is on its way. During its compression stroke, air is being compressed to a pressure and temperature. Before it is coming to the top dead center in an actual engine, the fuel gets injected. So fuel spray. By the time the fuel getting sprayed, it would have also undergone some procedure like a dressing up of fuel. We call it a dress up, no? So that dressing, how it is done, the highly viscous fuel will be pressurized to very high pressure, and that high pressure energy will get injected into the engine cylinder by passing it through the fuel injector. So fuel injection pump and fuel injector, they are very important components of a diesel engine. If fuel injection pump and injector fails to do its job completely, so the combustion is incomplete. You see a very thick smoke in the exhaust. So the very droplet, every droplet of fuel will be associated with a dense air, which is available at the end of the compression stroke. Now you see huge flame. Okay, this yellowish flame you may enjoy by seeing the colorful flame. We call it candle flame. If you see the candle, then only you say that when it is lit, so there is a flame. There are some fuels which will not give colorful flame. That doesn't mean that they are not fuels, because nature has given us such a fuels that they emit without any color. Luminosity is not indication of flame, existence of flame. So of course, if there is no luminosity, it is good because there is no smoke. But at the same time, they are very dangerous to handle. We do not know if the prevailing conditions are conducive that they may ignite, and it will be hazardous also. So it is good in one way, and it is also dangerous in another way. Now I'm saying whatever the burnt products are there which are not useful, so they will be let out of the engine cylinder through this exhaust manifold. So here we have different components in an actual automobile engine. You may see the exhaust. Somebody has raised a hand. Right now he wants to come clarification. Karunya Kalapati. Hello. Hello, Karunya. Maybe by mistake you would have asked. So these are the things which are being observed in animated diagrammatic representation. Of course, these are the cams. They are actuating the spring-loaded because they are pushing the valves. These are getting compressed and expanded. So these are spring-loaded valves. So this is a stem. The greenish part inside the spring. So that is actually, this is a valve head, this lower part. This is a tapered here, you see. And this is actually sealing. It is maintained here. Karunya?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, are you asking any doubt or?
No, sir. By mistake it came. Sir.
Okay. You joined and you are taking rest or what?
No, sir. I'm listening, sir.
No, you are at freedom. You can take rest and because for attendance sake, you may switch on and take rest. This is okay. So this, whatever the operations we have shown four-stroke engine in an ideal cycle. Okay, ideal diagram how it will be. The piston is at its topmost point, and as the piston is descending from top dead center to bottom center, the crankshaft is rotating. It is completing 180 degrees. So valve opens here, IVO inlet valve opens. So here IVO means inlet valve open, and it will be kept open till it reaches the bottom center. This inlet valve closes here instantaneously, and then compression begins here. Compression will come to the end here. In an ideal engine, in air standard cycles, okay, you should have studied in a air standard cycle, air standard diesel cycle, that external heat addition takes place instantaneously, large amount of heat supplied. The air gets high pressure and high temperature, and there the high temperature and air gets expanded when the piston is descending from bottom center to top center to bottom center. So once it comes here, and the exhaust valve opens, and the exhaust valve will be opened. So because no longer the gases are enough to expand it further, so they will be let out of the engine cylinder, so till it reaches the top dead center. So in effect, we have suction 180 degrees, compression 180 degrees, expansion 180 degrees, exhaust 180 degrees. So each stroke has got dedicated angle of revolution. So many crank angles. But in the actual case, because the actual case, you say you are not only supplying air, and there is also, you are not adding heat from external source. So it is a fuel which will be taking care of the heat release process upon combustion. And we are actually working with the components which have their own inertia of rest and inertia of motion, and we have to give provision for their movements also. So that's why the valves will be opened a little before or closed a little later. So by taking care of this one, your 180 degrees, whatever I have shown suction, may not be 180 degrees, but it is in excess of 180 degrees. And sometimes, it will be compensated by reduction in the angle covered during the compression stroke. Similarly, angle covered during the expansion stroke. So we have to give more time for the exhaust gases to leave out the engine cylinder, let it be at the cost of power, but engine should be cleared of the burnt gases. So we have to see that the clean combustion will be maintained, and the gases will be totally harmless. But they are not totally harmless. They are still creating harm to the environment, to the human beings, to whatever life is there on the planet. That's why we talk about more on climate change, and I think it is also contributing. So people are saying that automotive engines are main contributors towards air pollution, local pollution. Of course, power plants also, they emit a lot of gases, but immediately what you see is automotive pollution. Here what we are showing is the inlet valve. Yeah,
Sir, actually, at a certain crank angles, both the intake and exhaust valves may overlap. They will get simultaneously opened. So how it will be like I am seeing in this video. that at certain crank angle that both the valves are simultaneously open.
Sir has shown the video and we are showing now in steps. If you can give me some time, I will explain. Otherwise, no, you want only to understand the all over part directly, I will go. Which one you will prefer? Shall I go in sequence or directly I will go to the all overlap?
Sir, sequence, sir.
Yeah. Please have some patience, our class is started at 1:30. It will be till 4 o'clock or 4:30. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Likewise, the inlet valve should have opened because we had to come to the class little before the timing. So, but we are coming late to the class likewise. Similarly, the valves also, they have their own inertia of rest and motion.
Thank you, sir.
So these are the mechanically operated valves, inertia of rest. So we try to open the valve before TDC. Actually, valve ideally opens here, but we are giving a little more before itself. This you cannot appreciate in the beginning. Just for a while, you will think that the valve is has already opened. Okay, how it has opened, you will understand when we complete the whole cycle. So the valve has opened before TDC. Now, by the time it comes to the TDC point, it will be fully opened, and it will be kept open till whatever amount of charge, the amount of air, so it's supposed to come. Hello. Sampath, even movement.
Yeah, it's playing, sir.
Yeah. So the whatever charge that is going to come, they will start entering. It will enter, and we are giving more time because we wanted to bring as much input as possible. That is one reason why the valve is still open, even crossing the bottom center. Another thing is the valve is still open, and once it reaches the bottom center, it will start moving from top center to bottom center to top center. It is under the act of the pressure. Okay. So what happens? The valve is not yet closed. When it starts movement from here to here, you imagine that some part of charge may also escape through the inlet valve into the back flow. Okay, some part will go. So to arrest that one, what we try to do, we will close it here. Okay, there is a possibility that some charge will leave or flow back. Okay, so now it has completed more than 180. Are you understand? Are you able to understand this point? In the ideal cycle, I said no. It completes 180 degrees crank angle, whereas in actual case, the valve has opened here, about 25 here we are showing, and it is closing after 30 degrees. It's 25 plus 180 plus 30. So typical value is 1 in 35. 235, yeah? 235. Instead of 180 degrees, it is taking 235 degrees. Now your actual compression starts here. So actual compression in a sense that it has started already, but now the valve is totally closed, no? So your actual compression, effective compression starts. So the charge, whatever air has entered, it gets compressed. The piston in its upward stroke, movement to which end?
Yes, sir, it's playing, sir.
Yeah. So the valve is closed here. The charge gets, piston is moving upwards, you see. So before it coming to the top center, the fuel starts injecting. So it is different from an ideal case. No, instantaneous heat addition is not possible, and these processes are not reversible, and there is some finite time of fuel injection, and heat it is also, it takes not instantaneous. There is a definite period. So to take care of all those things, and the fuel should have been brought to the the fine form of a spray. That's why you take some time. So you start injecting the fuel, it will be for TDC. and before the piston coming to the topmost point, you start injecting, and it takes some time. So the fuel gets injected, and fuel gets penetrated into the highly compressed, dense air. It is also highly pressure, high temperature, high density. In that, the fuel has to get penetrated, and it has got to disperse because it has to spread inside, and penetration, dispersion, and then evaporation takes place. Once it overcomes its activation energy, Arrhenius law says that any fuel has to overcome its threshold energy. That energy should have been completed here, available for its combustion. So then ignition will start at one point, it will spread. So what are the different sequences in a millisecond takes place? I am trying to explain you. Okay. So penetration, dispersion, evaporation, then vaporization, then you have ignition, then combustion. So during this small period, the fuel injection to fuel ending period, everything, whatever it is understood by the researchers right from 1930, very active research has been taken place by the group of people from Japanese, and Hiroyasu and his co-authors. They have studied extensively during this period what is going to happen. So now the charge has gained enormous amount of energy, and that gets expanded, and you got expansion. See, then release of power, and before it is coming to the bottom center, we have the valve, exhaust valve open here. So like inlet valve opened before TDC, we are opening the exhaust valve also before BDC. So this valve is kept open till the point comes, even after our Avinasha, what is his name? Just now he asked a question. Hello?
Amarnath.
Amarnath?
Yes, sir.
Now you are very curious to know about this point, no? You see. So the piston is coming to its end of exhaust stroke. So even after crossing the TDC,
just move అయిపోతుంది సార్ fast.
So before, yeah, now. So it is coming to the end, So that means before it is coming to the close. So that means the one cycle is not yet completed. The inlet valve, gets opened of the following cycle. So before TDC, see, it is before TDC, this point, this whatever points are there. ఒక చోట ఆపేసాను, అంతవరకు వద్దులేండి.
ఓకే సార్,
ఒక్క చోట జస్ట్ క్రాస్ అవ్వండి, క్రాస్ మళ్ళీ. వెరీ గుడ్. So before coming to its this point, where exhaust valve closes here, so that means it is on its exhaust stroke. But what happens? The inlet valve of the following cycle has opened here. So this is what is this period. Inlet valve opens here. Inlet valve is also open, and also as exhaust valve is also open. During which both valves are open, the incoming charge is at a lower pressure relatively. When compared to exhaust gases which are leaving, which are at higher pressure. Because of this differential pressure, there is what is called scavenging takes place. Okay, there is a scope for the fresh charges to move out of the engine cylinder. There is a loss of power through the fresh charge. Of course, this pressure differential help us in clearing the engine cylinder also partially, but that loss is not that much because we are only losing air. So here we are not charging, but in a SI engine, the issue is different because the air fuel mixture which is entering. So diesel engine, that's why the efficiency is higher. Okay. So now a point has come here, the exhaust valve will close. So you will now appreciate that the inlet valve, why it has opened. So we have to open inlet valve before TDC, and exhaust valve will get closed after VDC. What happens if I give more period for the valve overlap? More charge will be lost. What happens if I give less? Scavenging won't be complete. So likewise, there are the cases which have been studied extensively. What happens if I close it a little after TDC? May not be, exhaust gases not completely removed out of the engine cylinder. There will be trapped gases. Okay, so this is contributing factors for the loss of efficiency when compared to the theoretical cycle. So these are all events, right from inlet valve opens to the inlet valve closes. So how much time here, from here to here, this is the inlet valve opening. This is a 5 degrees we are showing, no? So from here to here, 180. This is a 45 degrees. So this is the inlet valve open to inlet valve closing. One is a suction stroke. These two events are over. Now for the fuel injection period. So fuel injection beginning to the fuel injection ending. So this is a typical 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees, 15 degrees time during which the fuel injection begins and commences. So your actual expansion stroke starts here. And then it will come to this point. Your exhaust valve will open. So it is less than 180 degrees. So your exhaust stroke is more than 180 degrees. So exhaust valve closed after 10 degrees from its top center. These angles are, so in one diagram we have shown one type of values. In another diagram we are showing these values. That depends on the speed of the engine. We try to open little before, we open little late. So within the degrees, okay. What happens if you open it 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees, 20 degrees, late open, early open. So these are all the cases you can study computationally. So if you calculate the time taken for one cycle means 720 degrees. Let us say engine speed is n RPM. N RPM means, let us say 1000 RPM. 1000 RPM means 1000 revolutions per minute. Means 1000 revolutions in 60 seconds. 1000 revolution means one revolution is 360 degrees. So 1000 into 360 degrees is equal to 60 seconds. Let us say what is the time taken for 1 degree. So 1 degree is equal to 60 seconds divided by 1000 into 360. If you do this one, so that means 1 by 1000 into 6. So 1 by 6000. So 1 by 6000 of a second is required for completing 1 degree. So how many degrees the fuel injection during which the combustion has to take place? So it is 15 degree. 15 divided by 6000. So that means 1 by 400. Am I right? 1 by 400. Yeah. 1 by 400. Am I right? Can anybody calculate this one? Who is our CR?
Yes, sir, it's 400.
Huh? Laya.
Yes, sir, for 15 degrees, it's 400.
For 15 degrees, how much? 1 by 400, no?
Yes, sir.
1 by 400 means 0.025 seconds. 0.0 or 0.00?
0.0025.
0.0025 seconds. So if you blink your eyes, how much time it will take? Less than that time you are giving for the combustion to take place. Of course, the combustion may enter into up to this one, even otherwise also it will be smaller time only. 0.0025. If not 0.0025, it will be 0.005. So in that time, you are expecting the engine to complete its combustion, and the engine should not emit harmful products of combustion. Your engine should be cleared off, and it should satisfy your Euro 6 norms or Euro 4 norms, whatever norms are there. But what is happening in practice is This is the real scenario. This is as far as, but 180 degrees, if you take for any degrees, you can calculate. I just showed you for 720 degrees how much time. So 720 by how much it will take? 720 by 720 by 6000. So you please do this calculation. 720 by 6000, how much? $720 by 6,000.
0.12, sir.
0.12. Okay. 0.12, no? Hello?
Yes, sir. 0.12.
Yes, sir.
0.12. So 0.12 seconds will be taken by engine for one cycle, provided the engine speed should be 1000 RPM only. You imagine that we are not running the present automobiles at 1000 RPM. If you just double the engine speed, 2000 RPM, what will happen further? The time gets halved. Okay? 0.06. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
No, you further increase the speed. Make it 5 folds. If you make it 5 folds, what will happen?
The time will be decreased by 5.
So this is the way we have to understand how the time taken, absolute time, what is the speed with which the processes are happening. So the wall timing, by drawing the wall timing diagram, it will give insight into the how the things are happening in a typical automobile engine. Just 1 minute. Yeah. Any doubts at this point? Oh, Sampath garu.
Yes, sir. I will try to play. I'll try to play this one, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Today we will be conducting the experiment on the Lister diesel engine for drawing the wall timing diagram of the diesel engine. So before conducting the experiment, I will be explaining what are all the important components that are required and that should be understood in the running of a diesel engine. So right from the beginning, so the diesel is actually kept in the fuel tank. So the diesel is allowed to enter to the engine through the fuel filter, where any dust particles are there that could not be filtered at the fuel pump station, and they are further cleared of the all any dust particles are there by passing through the fuel filter here, and the filtered fuel is supplied to the fuel injection pump. So this is the heart of diesel engine. Mostly in all diesel engines you find the fuel injection pump. The important requirement of a fuel injection pump is to pressurize the high viscous diesel fuel. As you know that diesel is viscous than petrol or gasoline. So for splitting the fuel, that is pressurized to very high pressures through the fuel injection pump. So having pressurized this fuel, and finally it has to be sent into the engine cylinder. So that high pressure fuel now passes through the metallic tubing. As you understood that the fuel from the fuel tank is entering through the plastic tubing, whereas the pressurized fuel is entering through the metallic tubing, and the final exit of the fuel is at the end of the fuel injector. So the fuel injector is kept on the top of the engine cylinder, mostly this side located the fuel injector here, and this setup is a cylinder head cover On the head of the
so
piston.
this is as far as the fuel line is concerned. Now wall timing diagram, as I told you in the previous class, so this helps us to know the exact points where the inlet valve opens, where it closes, and where exhaust valve opens and closes. So, and the fuel injection beginning as well as the fuel injection timing. So these events are represented with the help of a valve timing diagram. Now, of course, we are performing on this engine. So now coming to the intake valve. So the inlet valve actually looks like this. The valve looks like this. This is the stem, valve stem, and this is the closing. Let us say if you keep it here, I am closing the valve. Suppose if I push it down, so that means the opening area. Now you see, by reciprocating from top to bottom, so the valve movement can be actuated. So this arrangement can be seen. So as I rotate here, so so if I rotate this the flywheel, so which are interconnected through the gear mechanism or chain drive, whatever it may be. So this rocker arm will be actuating. So this is going and pushing the valve stem. What is there inside the spring-loaded valve? These are actually the spring-loaded valve. This particular arrangement is there inside this. So this pressure of the rocker arm, is allowed to fall.
Just you show the spring on the actual engine. Please correlate your whatever you have seen in an animated diagram. The spring I have shown. So the spring is here. The spring is also here. The spring is also here. So this the spring connected with this rocker arm and its push rod. They are with the intake valve, and whereas this spring and this rocker arm, they are corresponds to the exhaust valve. And this works like a cantilever. One end is fixed, the other end is moving. So this load is going to fall on the valve. What is I'm holding in my hand on the head of it. So there is a very small pressure acts on that the valve stem. It opens. Okay. So how to appreciate the immediate opening of the valve? Let us see. We are going to insert a thin paper. Okay. So please carry on.
So this is done. So this is like a rocker arm, you see, and this rocker arm is operated by the push rod, and this push rod is mounted on the camshaft. Cams are actuating allow the valves to open and close because of the movement of the push rod. So how the camshaft is gaining motion? Because they are connected through the gear drive, I said, that finally to the crankshaft. And on the crankshaft, you see that is a heavy disc. This disc we named it as a flywheel. So by rotating the flywheel, you store the energy or you draw the energy depending on the requirement of the engine. So now let us see this arrangement as it is actuating. So you see that there is this moving up and down. Similarly, if I rotate it further, you see that another rocker arm is. So this rocker arm pertains to the exhaust valve. So this is the fuel filter, air filter. So you see underneath there are perforations. These perforations enables it to identify that it is an air filter. So the rocker arm which is near to the air filter is a intake valve operated rocker arm, whereas the other rocker arm is related to the exhaust. So this is the exhaust valve related rocker arm. So this is another component which is of interest when actually working with the engine. Is a decompression lever. Okay. So this will better understand when we are conducting the performance test on a kilowatt engine or any type of DC. So where exactly what is the purpose of this decompression lever is. Okay. So now we will actually go into the details of conducting the experiment. So the clearance between the valve stem, valve top of the wall stem and the rocker arm. It's very, very minute. So to see that whatever little movement of the rocker arm is there, that is going to actuate the wall. So that's why we insert a paper between the rocker arm and this particular lock nut. Okay. So we try to insert the paper slip for observing the whatever little pressure acts on the wall. Start. For easy understanding, just I will explain you with the help of a cylinder head of a Kirloskar engine, on which we perform a number of experiments. You see that the arrangement what I showed is the spring-loaded valve, and here the valve. So this is the arrangement which is kept here inside, and this you will appreciate that this end is here, and when I press this valve, so the actuation of valve moment can be understood that the pressure of the rocker arm is falling on the spring-loaded valve. So by pressing this spring, you see that this movement is transferred, and so this is what you see underneath the cylinder head, and this is exposed to the piston top. So the cylinder head cover, when I press this one, you see that the valve is being operated.
Sampath garu okkasari
This is how the valve actuation is done.
Are you able to appreciate that movement of valve? See, whatever there is lot of pressure, human pressure is required to push that. See, that much load should act on that, so that a small clearance will be created, and through this the charge will flow into the engine cylinder. So this is, of course, this is a black end here. This obviously signifies that this corresponds to the exhaust, and this corresponds to the intake. Okay. See, when I am trying to push it, it is coming out. See,
Piston top. So the cylinder head cover, appreciate that. And when I press this,
just ending.
the rocker arm is falling on the spring-loaded valve. So by pressing this spring, you see that this movement is transferred, and so this is what you see underneath the cylinder head, and this is exposed to the piston top. So the cylinder head cover, when I press this one, you see that the valve is being operated. Okay, this is how the valve actuation is done, and you see that this is the intake valve, and slightly the black end part is related to the exhaust valve. Okay.
Are you going to show another video?
Yes, sir. Next video. Yes.
Readings, no? Corresponds
Next
to
video.
readings.
No, sir. No, sir.
No.
Just another video. Continuous videos are there, sir. We have 5 videos. I will continue with them.
Anybody have any clarifications at this point? You are free to ask any questions here. Okay.
Just
Please go ahead.
I'm just sharing. The timing is not the issue. Now start.
For drawing the all-time diagram, we require minimum instruments like measuring tape and a piece of chalk. So where we have to note down is on the observation table. Okay, this is an observation table, and this clearly indicates that inlet valve opening. So the position before or after with respect to the nearest dead center. So in a short while now we will understand that what is that the distance near the nearest dead center means. Let us go to the engine, how we perform the test. As I told you that by giving movement to the flywheel, we will understand that the valves will open and close. So I am rotating now the flywheel in the clockwise direction when I am standing in front of the flywheel. So when I push it or rotating the opposite direction, so that is anti-clockwise direction, so I am giving another movement. You see, if I move this way or that way, both rocker arms are getting actuated. Both rocker arms are being
this is a critical point, when I'm telling you that if you rotate in the clockwise direction, something happens, some rocker arm will move, and if I rotate in the opposite direction, another rocker arm will move. Because if you recall the discussion in the initial of the cycle of operations in a diesel engine, the piston will be at its topmost point in 2 times, in a cycle, during this beginning of suction stroke and during the beginning of expansion stroke. But which point is corresponding to the beginning of cycle? That moment is the exact moment of rotation of crankshaft. That point of moment is the beginning of suction stroke also. So that's why we have to bring it to the topmost point so that the cycle actually begins. That's why I am trying to show you move in both the directions so that both rocker arms will get operated simultaneously. Okay, that point you have to keep it in mind. Please carry on.
Both rocker arms are being actuated. That is exactly the position where we have to bring to the point. The piston is at the top dead center. Top dead center. So even when the engine is closed, you cannot see the piston inside, but we can locate by rotating and by observing the movement of these rocker arms, we can say that the piston is at the topmost point. If I rotate in the clockwise direction, only the rocker arm pertains to the intake valve gets opened, gets operated. So if I operate in the opposite direction, the rocker arm corresponding to the exhaust valve gets actuated. So that is not the right direction of rotation. Right direction of rotation is having brought to the flywheel in such a way that both rocker arms are getting operated, and from there you rotate in the clockwise direction, only the rocker arm pertains to the inlet valve gets operated. Now we will actually start the conduct of experiment. So we have identified in the previous that how to bring the piston to the top dead center, and here also it is written clearly that the top dead center, TDC. So in a typical 4-stroke engine, 2 times the piston will be brought to the top dead center, and 2 times it will be at the bottom dead center. So which point will correspond to the beginning of the cycle where the suction stroke commences is the point where the engine cycle starts. So by operating both the rocker arms, we have now identified the right direction of rotation. And one more point what you have to remember here is we cannot appreciate exact location of inlet valve opening. Okay, the reason I will tell you a little later, because these are all the practically operated and actual valves, so they will be given some lead. So that's why you cannot understand or appreciate where exactly the inlet valve opens. Now we will start rotating continuously. So here, by going on moving the paper, so where exactly it gets tightened, and if it gets tightened means the pressure of this rocker arm is falling on the wall, so there the valve is opening. So if the paper gets loosened, I am able to move this paper easily. So that means the pressure of the rocker arm is not falling on the valve stem, so the valve is closed. So this is how we will observe the little pressure whatever it acts on the stem as the valve opening or closing respectively. Okay. Now I start rotating the inlet valve in such a way. in such a way that this paper gets loosened to note down the inlet valve closing. We'll start with the inlet valve closing. And we have to also simultaneously note down the bottom dead center. Bottom dead center is a point which is diametrically opposite on the flywheel. So the total circumference of the flywheel happens to be 190 centimeters. So at a distance of 90 centimeters, you will see that there is a bottom dead center. So I have marked it as a bottom dead center. Okay. Having identifying the top dead center and bottom dead center, as I told you that we will be actuating the intake valve by rotating in the clockwise direction. So as I told you that we will not appreciate the intake valve in the beginning. Clockwise direction, and to note down the inlet valve closing, so where the paper gets loosened, that corresponds to the inlet valve closing. So now the paper movement is a little bit okay. So this is a point corresponding to the inlet valve closing, IVC. Our tabulagram shows that this IVC is nearest to which dead center position. So this is the nearest to the bottom dead center. So this arc length we have to measure. So this is the distance we have to measure, and that we will be tabulating on the tabular column. So now we are on the compression stroke. We are already commenced with the compression stroke. Both valves will closed only. Now, so when the piston is about to come to the top dead center, the fuel injection will begin. Fuel injection. So here you see that in the plastic tubing, you can easily see the before the piston coming to the top dead center, the fuel injection will begin. So there is a rise in the level of the fuel here, and suddenly it dips down. Yeah. Hope you have understood this. Yeah. Okay. So now, for understanding, I will once again rotate this one. Where the injection begins, fuel injection begins, there is slight rise in the fuel. So on this, so all points will be noting down with respect to the red mark on the fuel filter. So fuel injection beginning, FIB. So this is an near into the top dead center, this distance. Now if I move further, the fuel injection will dip. So this is the point corresponding to the fuel injection ending, FIE. So now we are in the expansion stroke. So still continue, rotate the flywheel. While continuing, you try to observe the movement of the paper and the rocker arm corresponding to the exhaust valve. So paper gets tightened. So this is a point where the exhaust valve has opened. The exhaust valve started opening. Okay. So now it is nearest to the bottom.
So exhaust valve closing also we will continue with the same thing. Now we will show you the final, how to take the reading of it, how to measure the arc length.
On all the points on the flywheel. Now we will measure one by one. So now the inlet valve closing is measured with respect to the bottom dead center. The circular distance is corresponds to 12 centimeters away from the bottom dead center. So the inlet valve has closed after BDC. It means that the inlet valve has closed after 12 centimeters.
So these are the videos that we have, sir. Students, the same thing. For the arc length we are measuring, no inlet valve opening, inlet valve closing. From the nearest center we will take in terms of the length, and then we will convert into the number of degrees or rotational angle. So with this, the videos are over, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So the nearest dead centers we have located, and we have also understood what is the right direction of rotation. So how to identify, how to locate the different rocker arms, the push rods, the valves, and so on. So fuel injection beginning, fuel injection ending, we should appreciate it. So by actually operating the paper movement and also rotating the flywheel simultaneously, you can note down the points. We wish that you will come back to the campus as early as possible and experience your hand on the engine by conducting. To the extent possible, we tried our best to demonstrate you. So the idea behind of asking you people, if anybody is hailing from Warangal, they can come and stay with us. Stay in a sense that Thursday mostly we take the readings by conducting again experiments. So we are taking the video. It is not that we have shared this same video we are playing what we have done in the last semester. We are taking again fresh video. We are trying to improvise upon this one. So it will be a good that if a student is there, if he is simultaneously asking some clarification or doubt, so based on that one, it will be shared with the remaining student community. That is an idea. If you have any clarifications, you can raise.
Sir, Karunya Kalapati has raised his hand, sir.
That hand is since the beginning it is there.
Okay, I haven't realized.
Because I don't know how to, she may not be knowing how to withdraw. Again, you click it on that same.
Same
so
hand.
That, on the hand symbol, once again you have to click. That girl only, she has to click.
Yeah.
ఒక్కసారి అది మీ ఇది అనిమేటెడ్ ఉంది కదా స్పైరల్ అది
సార్
ఒకసారి చూపించండి.
ఓకే సార్.
So sir has shared the values, the tabulated values. So with the help of that one, you will be.
Sir, actual valve timing animation, sir.
ఇది కాదండి, ఐడియల్ దానికి వెళ్ళండి. Yeah. So are you able to see? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. First, you draw one vertical line. Some people have asked me that how to draw this spiral. So first you draw a vertical line. Then you mark some point as a one topmost point and another bottommost point. So you just draw one semicircle. Okay, semicircle. So center you located now. How to draw semicircle? With the help of a protractor, you can draw semicircle. So from this point, whatever that inlet valve open degrees have come now, 8, 5 or 7 degrees. From this point, you measure that 5 or 7 degrees. So that is the 5 degrees is there means from here to here, 5 degrees. So that with the help of a protractor, you can have that angle, and with the help of compass, you are drawing the semicircle, So inlet wall has closed after 30 degrees, let us say. Again, from this point on the left side, you measure that 30 degrees. So this is how it can be drawn. And then you change the circle center. From the center, you have to go to another point. So that means you move farther from here, draw so that this semicircle should continue from here. Okay. So by changing the center. So from here again you can continue.
Amaprasad sir.
Sorry to disturb you.
You are telling the center will be shifted and you are telling like this, but they cannot see.
Yeah, now I will put the pointer, sir. So that, so now this is the center. From that, they're actually drawing one half circle, one semicircle like this.
Yes.
Okay. And after that, the center, if you want to continue, you have to shift the center from here to here, but the radius keep the same as from this center to this line. And from there, you actually draw another semicircle, which is just above this radius, this one. And then you shift that center again to this side, take the radius, and then again draw a semicircle after this. Again, you shift the center to this side and draw a bigger circle. So that's how you will get this time. This is the initial center. This is the initial radius. So with this radius, you have drawn this half circle. And then you shift the center towards here with the protractor. And from here to here, you take the radius. And then you draw from here so that you'll get a bigger semicircle. And from then, again, your center has to be changed. From there, you again draw another semicircle. Similarly, the center again, you keep it this side. With the radius, bigger radius, you draw the other thing. Correct, sir?
Yeah, right. You are 100% correct.
So, students, any doubts? Come on, you can ask the professor if you have. I get the feeling students are not there, sir. Somehow.
అంటే పోస్ట్ లంచ్ సెషన్ ఏమో అందువల్ల అందరు నిద్రపోతుంటారు. They got habituated to sleep. No sir means no question sir, no sleeper.
No sleep probably.
Sir, we are there sir means Karthik.
I actually meant like we are present, sir.
Okay. We are also joking, not that serious.
So now you can see here clear what I'm trying to do with the green color. Now I am taking this as a center blue and this radius as radius. Okay.
This one is ideal.
Yeah, ideal. The same they can use for
Angle measurements.
angle measurements. Only they have to incorporate the angle.
Yes.
So I will send the data, the readings, the linear measurements we have done on that day in the laboratory. I will send you through the mail. I think I have already sent you the manual. Okay. So sir, can we give time up to Wednesday, sir? Wednesday 5 o'clock for submitting?
Yeah. Because if they submit early, even before Wednesday, so we'll also be in a position to correct it, no?
Correct, sir. Correct.
So students have to give us some time to correct it, so that by the time they come, because unless they submit where they are committing mistakes or how they are writing that one, we'll able to share with you. Not that you submit only at the end of the semester and ask us, sir, why you have given me this much, why you have cut down, oh, it is not like this, like this. So it will be a burden for us, and in a hurry we may not satisfy you. So it will have repercussions in many ways. Okay.
Any more questions, please ask. Students?
So leisurely, one experiment in a week we are doing. Otherwise, no, when we are here physically, all the group of students, this class B section, how many people? 80 students.
80 students.
88 students.
80, na?
88.
88 divided by 4. 22 students for one experiment, let us say. 22 is a very huge number because we actually used to teach for 4 students in the beginning. As a population has grown, number of seats have grown, number of students intake has grown. So number of experiments remain same. Yeah. So that's how yes, you can do it. Try to write your own way of understanding the procedure. Of course, when we share the folders, manuals with you, you go through it and try to draw your own procedure. And try to answer the questions, whatever they are giving in the manual. Answer by referring some prescribed books on your IC engine.
Actually, I have shared all the e-books of IC engines with them.
Oh,
so they have
nice,
got the books. So they will be useful for your theory and also for this lab. Some material you can get because so many books are there. You can get correct material from each book. You can see, have a broad idea, and then you can answer them.
Sir, did you send to A section also, no, sir?
I have shared with both the sections.
Right, sir. Thank you.
So one day Sarthak asked me on Sunday, I think, I shared one book by W.W. Pulkrabek.
I have shared some 5 to 6 books with them.
Oh, okay, very good, sir. Sir is having, sir is a library of, he has plenty of books and a lot of material is with him. And he is a voracious reader also. Not only keeping books, but he reads a very wide type of books also, right from literature to the philosophy related. Make use of our services to the extent possible. So this is a very precious time and understand. So we are open to you as far as the doubts in the subject point of view is concerned. Okay. Any doubts? సంపత్ గారు మీరు ఏమైనా మాట్లాడతారా చెప్పండి.
Nothing, sir. I mean, we have already instructed them, sir. There are 2 things, sir. They are not asking doubts. The first thing, either they didn't understand at all or they might have completely understood.
Yeah, which topic?
Those are the 2 options.
I'll ask one question to them. So which topic you are covering in prime movers for automobiles? Hello? Amarnath?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, either Amarnath or whoever is. Which topic is going on right now?
Scavenging is completed, sir. We are studying now CI combustion in CI engines.
Already you have come to combustion in CI engines, huh? Okay. Very nice.
Okay, do you remember what are all the topics covered?
Yeah, just out of interest, we can also understand. Not only Abhilash, everybody can.
Can
Hello,
somebody
sir.
tell what are the topics that have been covered in the class?
Sir, first, sir explained us regarding the differences of two-stroke and four-stroke engines, and then the basics of IC engines and SI engines, and then he started with combustion in SI engine. After completing that, he is now teaching combustion in CI engines.
Nice, Abhilash. Thank you.
So how many of you have actually seen the videos that I shared with you yesterday? Related to the lab.
How many means nobody can answer. Whether they have seen it or not, they can say.
Probably. So anyone has seen? So that means they are seeing for the first time, sir, I think. Even though we have sent it, we have shared them.
No, we have seen it, sir. Yesterday, you have sent it by evening, I guess.
Yeah, because
We have gone through that, sir.
Abhilash
Yes.
Reddy. Okay.
Yes, sir.
What is meant by homogeneous combustion?
Homogeneous combustion in the sense, whatever the air and fuel mixture we have, that is done in good proportions, whatever I know, sir.
Good proportion means?
In the sense, sir, we do have this lean mixture as well as rich mixture, no, sir, in which sometimes we have air dominating the proportion, and in sometimes this fuel dominating the proportion. So I feel that, homogeneous mixture in the sense in proper proportions.
Heterogeneous mixture means?
Heterogeneous mixture, either one of these would be in higher proportions.
So in lean mixture and rich mixture, both will be different, no? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Sir, in heterogeneous, apart from the air, like other foreign particles and excess of nitrogen or sulfur gases will be there.
No. Homogeneous combustion means the homogeneous charge prior to their taking part in combustion, no, they would have got prepared mixed air and fuel. They get mixed in a carburetor, Hello?
Yes, sir.
In a conventional SI engine, fuel air mixture, they come prepared outside and they enter during the suction stroke. Okay? They get compressed and they come to a point, compression pressure temperature, where the spark ignites the highly pressurized charge. What is heterogeneous combustion? The air only is entering in a diesel engine, air is compressed, and fuel is injected depending on your load requirement. So it is a heterogeneity. Okay, as is partially said that it is not in the right proportions. So it is not there prior to their taking part in combustion, they are not well mixed. It is not pre-mixed. It is what is called diffused mix. Okay. Your SI engine combustion in a conventional engines, only exception is gasoline direct injection. All other petrol engines are supposed to be homogeneous combustion or pre-mixed mode of combustion. There are different ways of understanding. You can go through it. I'm happy that you have given very good definition for lean mixture, rich mixture. On what basis you categorize it as a lean and a rich?
Sir, rich mixture in the sense, the proportion of fuel is greater than the proportion of air, sir.
No, there will be some benchmarking, no?
I mean, I am not aware of that.
Okay. Suppose 6.5 CGPA is there. Above 6.5, yes. We call it as below 6.5. Some. So there is 6.5 is some criteria, no?
Yes.
Similarly, for fuels also, there is one criteria, what is called stoichiometric air-fuel ratio. Okay?
Okay.
So the reference fuel for SI engines is gasoline. So gasoline is a petrol, no? otherwise.
Yes. Yes.
So the reference fuel is isooctane. Isooctane, what is its chemical formula? C8H18.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Octane.
Yes. 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 Sir.
Isooctane means C8H18 plus O2 plus N2. Oxygen, air means oxygen and nitrogen, no?
Yes.
So complete combustion, you assume it. Then what are the products here? The right hand side, CO2 plus H2O plus N2. Okay.
Yes.
If you balance it, then what you get is C8H18 plus 12.5 O2 plus 47 N2, giving rise to 8 CO2 plus 9 H2O plus 47 N2. Okay.
Okay. Sir.
Air fuel ratio means, so air is 12.5 plus 47 into 32. Like this, air divided by mass balance, you do it, na?
Yes.
So divided by C8H18 means 8 into 12 plus 1 into
18.
114. So denominator is 114. Numerator, when you calculate like that, no, it comes around 14.7:1. Very near to. So we approximate as a 15:1. So 15:1. For every 1 part of fuel to undergo complete combustion, we require 15 parts of air. Okay.
Okay.
If your engine is taking less than this 15, then it is called rich mixture. Means air is that means more fuel is going, no?
Yes. Yes.
So it is a rich mixture. So if it is taking more than 15, it is a clean mixture. Okay, that is a criteria. Okay, good. That's all from our side. What else you want?
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir. Sir, you said that compression ignition engines are more efficient than spark plug ignition.
Sorry, compression ignition?
But engines are more efficient than spark plug ignition.
More efficiency means relatively better thermal efficiency. Okay.
But in petrol engines, why are we using spark plug type of mechanism? Can't we use compression ignition?
See, each type of engine has its own advantages, and based on that, we choose the applications. Petrol engines are lighter, diesel engines are heavier, but diesel engines are more efficient than petrol engines. So, what is that you need? Based on that, you select the engine. If you want lighter engine at the cost of a little bit efficiency, we have to go for petrol engine. But if you want high efficiency, maybe I can take a heavier engine, I go for diesel engine. Is that clear, Hemant?
Yes, sir.
If one is efficient, we will leave all of the other things out. We can study only one engine, right? So because our requirement changes based on the application, we will have number of types of engines, and we have to choose the particular engine which is suitable for that application. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Any other? Okay, Amaprasad sir, I think we can close.
Yeah, okay, sir. Anyway,
okay, see you guys.
Right? Sir, I have sent them the readings also, sir.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah. We are happy that some students have raised some clarifications.
Yes, sir. Great. That's great.
See, if somebody asks like that, we can remember the names also, right? You will be familiar to us. Now we know Amarnath, we know Abhilash, we know Hemant, we know Laya, and like that.
Okay. Yeah, now today's class is over. Can
I think maybe Sampath sir will give the number, sir.
No, sir. Which one, sir?
You will give it in mail, or now you will tell the...
I've already sent them, sir. I have given the readings, already sent them to the mail.
Okay, okay.
So the manual is also already sent yesterday itself, manual.
Okay, okay.
So they only have to write the explanation procedure in their own words, calculate, and then put a neat diagram, and then submit that by LMS. I will put that in LMS so that they can submit through LMS. And by Thursday, we will give them, we'll show them what are the defects or any mistakes we may found out. We will try to tell them. So that's what the plan is. All right, anything related to the record submission or anything, you please call me. Don't bother Ambapasad sir or Gupta sir. Please try to call me. Okay. But, any other thing? If you have any other questions,
Okay.
please.
Sampath sir,
Yes,
Sampath sir, whatever you share with the students, you send a copy to me also.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Yeah, I will do that. Okay, sir. Then thank you, Dr. Ambapasad sir and Gupta sir.
Okay, see you guys.
Yeah.
See you again.
Yeah, happy weekend to you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Bye, all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to-
Take care.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.